What is up, everybody? Hey, welcome to our Reflections podcast. And this episode, I'm calling it, well, I think I'll call it, You Don't Have to Know Who's Right to Know Who's Right. I love that title. There's this story in John 5 where Jesus is talking with the Pharisees. And the Pharisees, if you don't know, they're these religious people. They're experts in the law. They know the scriptures. They have it mostly, if not entirely, memorized. And Jesus seems to have it out with a lot of them, not all the time. And not all the Pharisees were bad. There were some that were, like any of us, I suppose. But there were some that he was just consistently kind of bumping up against, and they were giving him a hard time. And there's a scene, though, where Jesus finally, he sort of calls them out. And he tells them this. He says to this group of Pharisees, he says, hey, you study the scriptures diligently because you think in them you have eternal life. These are the very scriptures that testify about me, yet you refuse to come to me to have life. In other words, you guys are studying these scriptures that point to me, and you're doing it because you think you can find eternal life in there. But I'm here, I'm the giver of life, and you don't come to me. You refuse to come to me, and therefore you don't have life. Just before this, he says this is crazy. He says, and the Father who sent me has himself testified concerning me. Like the Father's got my back, he says. But you have never heard his voice, nor seen his form, nor does his word dwell in you. For you don't believe the one that he sent. In other words, he's saying hey, you guys are doing all these things that look good on the outside, but you really don't even know God and the one whom God has sent, which is me. I'm the bringer of life, and you're missing the whole point. The Pharisees knew the scriptures, but they still didn't have eternal life. That's funny because the people in the Gospels who Jesus speaks most sternly to, the ones he's the most stern or harsh with, is religious people, right? Not the sinners, but it's the religious folks who have the scriptures, who know better, but consistently miss the point or use the scriptures to twist and to oppress and to marginalize people, not to love. And it's often Jesus and these religious folks who are at odds with each other on a number of occasions. And it reminds me of this saying that I said I love it. It says, you don't have to know who's right to know who's right. You don't have to know who's right to know who's right. Have you ever watched an argument or two people arguing and thought, good grief, I don't even care who's technically correct anymore. The way you're both acting makes me not want to be like either of you. We all know someone too who knows the Bible, who calls themselves a Christian, but is just mean or nasty. Some of the meanest people that I know are religious Christians who know the Bible, but they don't have life. Yeah, you don't have to know who's right to know who's right. When I was in seminary, I had this professor who was incredible and very controversial. He was challenging. He challenged the norms of institutions, of seminary even itself, and even theological ideas. And he was very attractive for me because I loved that he was kind of pushing up against a lot of these foundational ideas and truths and things we all held dearly. But there was something about him that I don't know if I trust this guy. And he was very smart, one of the smartest guys I've ever known. And man, I went down the rabbit hole with him and really began to buy into a lot of the things he was saying. And I'm not ungrateful for it. I'm glad I did. But here's what happened. After I left seminary, I watched him from afar, and I watched him have implosions of his relationships. And he was eventually fired from the seminary. It was sort of rumored that his marriage kind of fell apart. And this Christian professor who was espousing all these beautiful theological ideas, his own life was an absolute mess. And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I love his ideas, but I don't want to be like him at all. I don't want to go in his path. I don't want to live the life he's living. And so, it's something, there's a disconnect there. And I love watching, debates amongst Christian theologians, but sometimes it's just a little bit too much. There's this guy, though, that I found. His name's John Lennox. And he's an incredible debater because when you watch him debate, he genuinely seems to love the people whom he's debating. So he'll debate against Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens or these people and other staunch atheists, but he does it in this way that's it's so beautiful. He's not condescending. He's never arrogant. In fact, he seems like he really loves the people he's debating. And I love it. I want to be like that guy, or I'd want him to be my grandfather or something like that. But somewhere along the way, it's we begin to prioritize being correct over character, being right over being good to each other. And I got to tell you, it's unbecoming. And this is why people can weaponize truth. Even though they're true, they'll weaponize the truth. Or even though they're right, they'll weaponize. They'll belittle others. They'll harm people. They'll prop themselves up in this arrogant, self-aggrandizing kind of way. It's because they've separated truth from actual action and behavior in the world. But what if the way of truth wasn't just about being technically correct, but it was about a way of living or a way of life? Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. Like the way he lived his life was truth embodied. And he was the way and life and these kinds of things. And I don't always care who wins the argument, you know what I mean? I really don't anymore. Like the older I've gotten, like I just don't care who wins the argument or sometimes who's even technically correct. Sometimes I don't care. I just want to watch someone's life play out, and then I can see kind of, who's right? You know, like whose life over time looks like love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and self-control. And that's the person who's like kind of won me over. Like spiritual maturity is coming to see that how we behave is just as important as what we hold to be true. Maybe it's more important, I don't know. And preferring to be good to others over being correct, that's true, to me, true spiritual maturity and true humility. So yeah, that's it. You don't have to know who's right to know who's right. And maybe all of us should just have a little bit more humility when we're talking with other people or arguing, and maybe we should let others' lives speak maybe louder than the things they say that they believe. And maybe we should really honor and kind of uphold people whose lives have really been good and really have produced the fruits like love and joy and peace and patience and these kinds of things. And maybe those are the kind of folks that we should venerate and really uphold and model our lives after. So, all right. Love you guys. Peace. Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.